A boy with a sling faces a giant no army will fight. A king he loves turns into the man hunting him. A friend gives up a throne rather than lose him. A son he raised leads an army against him. And in the end, a dying king must decide, with his last breath, who will wear his crown. This is the full story of David, the boy God chose when no one else would, the king who fell further than almost any man in the Bible, and the father whose family nearly destroyed everything he built. Before we begin, if stories like this move you, subscribe to the Bible Animated and turn on notifications so you never miss a new film. A like helps more than you know, and if you know someone who needs to hear this story today, send it to them. Israel already had a king. His name was Saul, and God had chosen him first. But Saul disobeyed the Lord again and again, and God grieved that he had ever crowned him. So the Lord told the prophet Samuel, "Fill your horn with oil. I am sending you to Bethlehem, to a man named Jesse. One of his sons will be the next king." Samuel was afraid. If Saul heard of this, he would kill him for treason. So the Lord gave him a cover story. Go to Bethlehem to offer a sacrifice, and no one will suspect a thing. When Samuel arrived, Jesse paraded his sons before him. The eldest, Eliab, was tall and impressive. Samuel thought, surely this is the Lord's anointed. But God stopped him. Man looks at the outward appearance. The Lord looks at the heart. One by one, 7 sons passed before the prophet. 7 times, God said no. "Are these all the sons you have?" "There is still the youngest," Jesse admitted. "He is out with the sheep." No one had even thought to call him in, Samuel insisted. They sent for him, and a ruddy, bright-eyed boy walked in from the fields, dust still on his sandals. "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." Samuel poured the oil over David's head in front of his stunned brothers. The Spirit of the Lord rushed upon him from that day forward. And then, nothing happened. No parade, no throne, no announcement. David went back outside and returned to his sheep, carrying a secret only he and God understood. The Philistines gathered for war and camped on one hillside. Saul and the army of Israel camped on the other. Between them lay the valley of Elah. Each morning, a champion strode out from the Philistine lines. His name was Goliath of Gath. Over 9 feet tall, armored head to foot in bronze, his spear shaft as thick as a weaver's beam.
"Choose a man and let him fight me. If he kills me, we will be your slaves. If I kill him, you will be ours. I defy the armies of Israel today."
For 40 days, he shouted this into the valley. For 40 days, not a single Israelite, not even King Saul, stepped forward. David wasn't at the battle. He was still tending sheep until his father sent him with bread and grain for his brothers on the front line. He arrived just as Goliath began his usual taunt and watched grown soldiers turn and run in terror. David did not run. Something in him burned.
"Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?"
His own brother Eliab overheard and snapped at him. "Who's watching your pitiful few sheep?" David brushed it off and kept asking. Word of the boy's boldness reached Saul himself. "I will go and fight this Philistine," David told the king. "You cannot," Saul said. "You are a boy. He has been a warrior since his youth." But David told him about the lion and the bear he had killed with his bare hands, protecting the flock. "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul relented. "Go, and the Lord be with you." He dressed David in his own royal armor, but David was young, and the armor was made for a king. The helmet slid over his eyes. The bronze coat dragged him to his knees. He could barely stand. "I cannot walk in these," David said. "I have not tested them." He took them off. Instead, he picked up his shepherd's staff, walked to a stream, and chose 5 smooth stones. With nothing but a sling and a bag of rocks, he walked out to meet a giant. Goliath laughed at him. "Am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? Come here, and I will feed your flesh to the birds." David didn't slow down. "You come to me with sword and spear. I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God you have defied. Today, the Lord will hand you over to me." Goliath advanced. David ran, not away, but straight at him. He reached into his bag, loaded a stone, and released it in one motion.
The stone struck Goliath's forehead and sank in. The giant swayed and crashed face first into the dust. The Philistine army broke and fled. The men of Israel, the same men who had cowered for 40 days, rose with a roar and chased them to the gates of their own cities. A shepherd boy had done what an entire army could not. When David was brought before Saul, still holding Goliath's severed head, the king's son Jonathan was standing nearby. Right there, Jonathan stripped off his royal robe and handed it to David, along with his sword, his bow, and his belt, the symbols of the crown prince. It was a silent declaration. This throne isn't mine to keep, it's yours. But not everyone was celebrating. As the army marched home, women poured into the streets, singing, "Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s." Saul's face went dark. They credit David with 10,000s, and me with only thousands. What more can he have but the kingdom itself? From that day, Saul watched David with the eyes of a man measuring a threat. A tormenting spirit began to plague Saul, fits of rage and despair that left him raving. David, who played the harp beautifully, was brought in to soothe him. Saul sat with a spear in hand. Without warning, he hurled it across the room. David dodged. The spear struck the wall behind him. It happened again. Saul sent men to surround David's house that night, planning to kill him at dawn. But Michal, David's wife, and Saul's own daughter, warned him in time. She lowered him out of a window into the darkness, and David ran for his life. He went first to Samuel, then made one last stop before disappearing to say goodbye to Jonathan. Jonathan couldn't believe his father meant to kill David, so they made a test. David would skip the king's feast, and if Saul raged at his absence, they'd know the truth. Saul did rage. The next morning, Jonathan met David in a field under the pretense of shooting arrows for a servant boy to fetch, and called out a coded warning, "The arrow is beyond you." David understood. They would not see each other again in peace. For years, David lived as an outlaw in his own country, hiding in caves, gathering 400 men who were in debt, distress, or discontent, and became his loyal band. Saul hunted him relentlessly across the wilderness. One day, Saul entered a cave to relieve himself, not knowing David and his men were hiding in the darkness at the back of that very cave. David's men whispered, "This is the day the Lord has delivered your enemy into your hand." David crept forward and, instead of killing the king, silently cut off a corner of his robe. Immediately, his conscience struck him. "The Lord forbid that I should raise my hand against his anointed." When Saul left the cave, David followed and called out, holding up the piece of cloth as proof he could have killed him and chose not to. Saul wept. "You are more righteous than I. I know now that you will surely be king." But the peace didn't last. Not long after, Saul hunted him again, and again David snuck into his camp at night, this time stealing the spear and water jug from beside the sleeping king, sparing his life a second time. In between, there was Nabal, a wealthy, cruel man who insulted David's men after they had protected his shepherds for months. David rode out to kill him in fury, but Nabal's wife, Abigail, intercepted him with gifts and wisdom, talking him back from bloodshed. 10 days later, Nabal died of a stroke, and Abigail became David's wife. Eventually, exhausted from running, David did something desperate. He defected to the Philistines, David's own former enemies, and lived among them for over a year under a Philistine king named Achish, raiding hostile tribes to earn his trust while hiding the truth from him. Then came the final battle. The Philistines marched on Israel at Mount Gilboa. The army broke. Jonathan fell in battle. His brothers fell beside him. Wounded by archers and refusing to be captured alive, Saul fell on his own sword. His armor-bearer, seeing the king dead, did the same. When word reached David, he did not celebrate. He tore his clothes and wept, and wrote a lament that would be sung for generations.